Hi, I'm Jeff.
I'm Andrew.
I'm a research and development engineer here at Cane Creek Cycling Components with 8 years of product development experience. I also help design and test the Eewings titanium crankset.
And I'm a lifelong motocross and mountain bike racer, and I also work here at Cane Creek Cycling Components.
Now we know that the Eewings are the toughest performance mountain bike cranks in the world, and today I'm going to prove it to you guys by demonstrating how these cranks hold up under a series of tests to measure their strength, stiffness, and durability.
Well, Jeff's showing us a bunch of boring lab tests. I'm really going to put these cranks to the test by taking this single set and doing everything in my power to try and destroy them. And after they've been smashed, bashed, and abused, I'm going to strap them on my bike and jump 40 feet to flat.
My tests are not boring. We have some cool test fixtures in the back, and we're also going to break a couple sets of carbon cranks.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's go. Mountain bike cranks see all types of abuse on the trail. Rock strikes, log hits, G-outs, big flat landings, all these things can really take a toll on your crankset over time. Titanium is known for its excellent strength, impact resistance, and fatigue life, so we knew it would be the ideal material for our crankset. Carbon, on the other hand, is a delicate network of fibers that, when intact, has a great strength-to-weight ratio, but when compromised can fail quickly under the stresses of riding. And to demonstrate this, we're going to simulate a 1-pound rock striking the underside of the crank arm at 22 miles per hour. We're going to do that using this pendulum. Now, let's say this rock strike were to happen at the bike park and the damage were to go unnoticed. You could take a few runs and then send a big drop to flat, and we'll simulate that too using our press. After the impact, I'm going to apply 800 pounds to the crankset, which is equivalent to a 180-pound rider and their bike experiencing 4 Gs, or that same rider dropping to flat from about 5 feet. So let's see what happens. Man, that was a big hit. These cranks are cracked. The carbon looks like it's delaminating, and the entire carbon network is probably somewhat compromised. The Eewings also have a pretty big impact and a dent to show from it. But really what's going to be interesting is when we put both of these on the test rig and load them up and see what happens. So as our press applies 800 pounds to the crank arm, you hear the carbon cracking and popping until eventually the whole arm breaks. So as the same load is applied to the Eewings titanium cranks, they deflect considerably, but there are no visual or audible signs of cracks or failures, and after the load, they return to their original position. As you can see from that test, when carbon is compromised, it quickly failed under the load, whereas the Eewings titanium cranks can handle the pressure.
A lab test measuring durability is one thing, but as mountain bikers, we know that the true measure of durability is how a crank acts when it connects with cold, hard granite. And so to demonstrate the Eewings' true durability, I'm going to climb onto the roof of our factory and drop these two 28-pound cinder blocks over 30 feet onto our set of Eewings here and see what happens. My name's Andrew Slowey, and this is Cane Creek Cycling Components. Wow, let's check these guys out. Wow, that was 2 massive impacts on these Eewings cranks. Really held up well. A couple of scratches, some scuffs, nothing, some Scotch-Brite and some elbow grease won't take care of.
Stiffness of a crankset relates directly to power output and pedaling efficiency while riding. When pedaling up a seemingly endless climb, the last thing anyone would want is for their energy to be wasted due to their crank flexing. That's why we have spent hours and hours of development time ensuring that the Eewings are not only extremely light and durable, but also incredibly stiff. To demonstrate this stiffness, we first need to take a look at a premium carbon crankset and see how it performs by comparison. We've set up a test to demonstrate energy transfer to the drivetrain. With the chain fixed, this hydraulic ram will apply 1.8 kilonewtons of load to the crank. That's equivalent to 400 pounds on the pedal, which would simulate a short burst of energy a strong rider would exert as they climb a technical section of trail. After we test this carbon crank, we'll do the same thing with the Eewings to see how they do. Let's get started. So as this load is being applied to the crank arms, the premium carbon cranks deflect 18 millimeters, whereas the Eewings only deflect 9. Looking at the results, you can clearly see that Eewings are twice as stiff as a premium carbon crank. That means on a carbon crank, with every pedal stroke, you're losing energy due to flex that would be saved with the Eewings. That is energy that would be directly transferred to your pedaling power.
Alright, we're here at the Oscar Blues rebranch to test the stiffness of our titanium Eewings. And what we've done, we've installed a 75-foot zip line where I'm going to ride these cranks from the second story of the barn all the way down to that old oak tree. So, let's do this. That was awesome.
Earlier we saw how compromised cranks stand up to a single big drop. But really, when we ride, we mostly experience many smaller drops and hits. So to see how the Ewings perform under these riding conditions, I'm going to apply 500 pounds of force 1,000 times to the same Ewings that we impacted and tested earlier. This 500-pound load is equivalent to 2.5 Gs, or a 180-pound rider and his bike dropping to flat from about 3 feet. Also, I used our pendulum to simulate the same rock strike on the underside of a new carbon crank arm, so that after we test the Ewings, we can run the same test on those carbon cranks to see how they compare. As the test begins, you see the Ewings deflecting under the load. But after 1,000 cycles, the deflection has not increased at all, and the cranks are still in great shape. Under the same load, our carbon cranks crack after the first push and catastrophically fail on the second. So as you can see, even a single big rock strike can severely compromise the best carbon cranks, while the Ewings just keep going.
Now that Jeff has shown you what ultimate strength looks like in an RMD setting, I'm going to show you what it looks like in the real world, or in this case, our factory. I have 320 pounds of iron weights chained to this forklift, and we're going to lift them off the ground using our titanium Ewings. Hit it, Jeff. Don't try that at home, and definitely don't try that with a carbon crank. Alright, we're back at the Oscar Blues rebranch, this time on the top of their dual slalom track. And after performing several tests on these Cane Creek Ewings, we tried to pull them apart with a forklift, we tried to smash them with a cinder block, and we tried to grind them down using a zip line. We've got one final test, a test of real trust. And I've bolted them back onto this Reeb Squeeb, and we're going to send it on a big jump at the bottom of this hill. You guys ready?